deck. I may have lied.
And the mage deck against the paladin.
He's here to prove a point, you know.
I actually think this is a good matchup for the mage. As strong as paladin is, the way that Amaz built the paladin deck, it's very strong in creature combat because he has an overwhelming amount of buffs, but it's very weak if he constantly gets his creatures removed, which is basically the point of Savjz's deck.
Right, I mean, it's pretty much control mage, a lot of the same removal that we see in the ranked lists of mage control decks. Double Doomsayer, too, the only person playing that card, I think.
Freeze mage so far.
Yeah.
Savjz has opted for a more freeze mage type of deck. I believe we've seen Ice Block, Ice Barrier, and Duplicate from the secret list.
How important is Doomsayer in the Paladin matchup?
It's very good. There's like no counter. There's maybe one Owl, and there's Equality, Swing with your Lights Justice maybe. But basically Amaz's whole board is going to be full of Divine Shields, which just are going to be completely useless against Doomsayer.
All right, well, we see the creature problem there. Amaz has a lot of complementary cards for creatures, but no actual creatures to play yet.
Yeah, definitely one of the awkward hands that you can get when you play that many kind of reactive cards, things like Equality, Humility, the buffs. I mean, if you don't get that early board lead, it's really tough to get full value out of your cards that you have. Argent Protector, I mean, right now, if this minion were to die, it's really just, you have to play a Sylvanas on an empty board, and the rest of the hand, it really just doesn't do much until you actually stick a minion.
Now, one thing we haven't seen, I believe, is Fireball from Savjz. He has the big minions, he's got the polymorphs, he's got the freezes, but no Fireball means he can't really take advantage of the fact that Amaz has Sylvanas in at least 2 of his 3 decks. Because often, if you can kill Sylvanas and play a Doomsayer on an empty board, you just get a very easy clear.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Ironically, we've seen Savjz lose to Fireball with this deck, off of Nefarian, though, so...
Well, that might happen again, as I believe Amaz is running Nefarian almost every single deck.
So Amaz does get to stick his minions. One of the advantages of playing against a slow deck like this mage is that you have a lot of time to just develop stuff. Eventually you'll draw stuff. But the thing is, Savjz is all right with taking some damage. His plan isn't to deal with every minion one by one as it comes out. His plan is to just buy some time, get a Doomsayer to trigger, and then follow up with one large minion to take initiative on the board.
Now, if you play a Doomsayer here, you have to think that the only way you're losing it is to Equality, and then you have to wonder if maybe that's worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you were to Equality there, the thing about Doomsayer dying to Equality in general is that it doesn't just Equality your minion, it Equalities their minions, and then your hero power deals with everything left on board pretty easily. So you're usually not too worried about it getting Equality. So I would have liked to see a Doomsayer that turn, but what Savjz is thinking here is if I wait one more turn to Doomsayer, then I'll be able to follow up with Nyxia instead of just this 5-mana card in my hand. He's not just trying to get the best value out of his Doomsayer as far as how much stuff he kills, he's trying to get it to blow up at the right time so that he can follow up with the best threat. On an empty board, to be honest, as rarely as we see the card, there are a few minions in the game better than Nyxia.
Yeah, Nyxia, I've actually played it a few times in decks where I really struggle to find enough dragons, and I feel it doesn't underperform. I'm not really blown away by the card, but I think there are really very few big minions in general Hearthstone play that blow you away that cost 9 mana.
Yeah. Most of them have a very unique effect, things like Alexstrasza or Ysera that wins over several turns, but Nyxia kills them pretty quickly.
And actually, Amaz chose not to Equality.
Oh, Savjz is going to go for the Rag instead of the coin and Nyxia. He's thinking about it. All right.
I mean, they bring the Duplicate on the Rag over a Weld, for example.
Right,
yeah. The Duplicate really does influence. Very good call there, Hyped.
Yeah, makes a ton of sense. So we've seen, I think, all 3 secrets from Savjz's deck so far, and I think those were Duplicate, Ice Barrier, Ice Block. So the plan is definitely slow the game down, copy my big animals, and then play them again, which is a pretty fun type of control deck. Works a lot in ranked, honestly. I know you have a lot of experience playing the more non-traditional mage decks like this. How do you feel about Savjz's deck? Do you feel like this is one of the stronger ones in the tournament, or would you prefer to see something more standard like the Priest?
Well, playing a big mage like this is all about the swing turns with Doomsayers, for example, and we've seen a lack of Doomsayer answers from our opponents, and Savjz's got a perfect one out there, laid down the big minion, has the Duplicate in play. I think it's going to work out for him. Even the Polymorph for the Sylvanas.
Absolutely. It's definitely been a slow start from the Paladin as well. That Polymorph just man, it's so tough to get a clean answer on Ragnaros. You usually need a 2-card answer.
Stalog. Stalog, if he holds Stalog, he can maybe get an extra Thaddeus, I'm thinking. Right, because one Stalog had already died this turn. So if he can kill his opponent's Fugan, deal with a Thaddeus, or if he draws Fugan and then plays the Stalog.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. I think the bigger reason he's just hero powering here is just to increase the odds of Ragnaros hitting face. Nefarian, big pickup though for Amaz. He really needs some good cards off this.
What can you get here? Oh, I can't. Okay.
Oh, you can get some burn, Crip.
Wow, that is a lot of burn.
Yeah. All right, so Amaz is now looking at 2 True Silver champions. He's sitting on 24 damage, yeah. Which is a very big number. And
it is a very big number, but I believe Savjz has Ice Block up. I believe he played it earlier in the game.
He does. And we'll see if Savjz is playing something like Alexstrasza or like Healbot, something to really like pull his life total back up after that Ice Block is procced. But I mean, if he's not, we could easily see a just like no recovery basically from the mage control deck. Playing a deck like this requires a lot of very specific cards that are useful in specific situations. So you don't just need a bunch of removal and finishers and 10 raid bosses, but you need to fit in things like Frost Nova, you need to fit in things like heals, secrets, mad scientist. So for example, if just because of a lack of deck space, Savjz decided not to include any healing, that burn plan will work out even if Ice Block does buy him 1 extra turn.
Yeah, that is in fact how he lost one of his prior games. Just there is no heal. It seems like a lot of these control mages, and especially the freeze mage, have a very well-balanced draw system and curve system. You know, they're slow decks, but they're just slow enough to where you can actually cycle through your cards and never overdraw none of that.
Absolutely. You can see Savjz 2 turns in a row now has decided not to play one of the sisters, and the reason he's doing that is out of fear of an equality turn. This turn I might have liked to see one come down because now Amaz has the option to kill off both of Savjz's minions. Savjz isn't too worried about that. He understands the duplicate. I think that's most of the reason he's not playing the 3-4. It's not just the equality combo. But it's definitely interesting like how much tempo has been lost just to make this duplicate work out.
Well, Amaz can trigger the Ice Block here.
Oh, I think he's going to go for it.
Okay, a little bit different than just a Pyroblast, and this will allow him to peacekeep the Stalog, I believe, which most likely prevents him from dying.
Yeah, putting Savjz to 2 life, also very relevant in case Amaz ends up drawing a Consecration. That's going to be just another card that can threaten lethal.
Yeah, right now Savjz might be looking to get like a freeze or something, but you know, even that's not going to work just because of the Pyroblast. Oh, can he do any manipulation with a Mad Scientist? I don't believe so.
No, there's no way to kill his own Scientist off. And I mean, this might just be game, right? I mean, this is what we were worried about. No healing, and all of a sudden, you just get hit with a weapon again, or in this case, a Pyroblast for style points.
I wonder.
Well, on Savjz's side of the board, he has to assume his opponent has absolutely nothing. And in that very optimistic case, maybe Ragnaros can work some magic with face hits. But we know it's over. Savjz will end up dropping this one, and it might be a little bit of a climb, though not quite as much as it was in our opening rounds. Our opening rounds were best of 3. In this final, they'll have to win with every single deck, which also changes up the game a little bit.
I mean, that's the beauty of
Hello.
Of Challenge Stone, though. I mean, how often do you see a Ragnaros live for like 5 turns, and then the player loses? You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's true. That was quite a game. And Savjz, even though he lost, he has that smile on his face.
Consecration,
right?
yeah.
He wouldn't have True Silver to 1-1.
Maybe to test for it. What else are you going to True Silver face on that board?
Well, that's how he won, yeah.
Oh, that's true.
All right, well, Amaz tries the Druid. The Druid is the deck that Amaz has not produced a win with yet.
See if there is a dragon on time here for Savjz.
I like Naturalize in the general case just because I feel like you're almost always in a position where you're clogged in your hand a little bit. But sometimes the Dragon Priest really needs that dragon, or that second dragon in some cases. And Naturalize doesn't really work too well with that.
I do think it's a really important tool for Druid against the Priest deck, though. The way that Priest would tend to beat most Druids is by just making a very large minion early.
It's the dream.
Yeah, the dream. The turn 2 coin Velen's Chosen on Twilight Drake. This is, exactly what you want as the Priest player. And all of a sudden,
Naturalize.
you know, I think it.
Well, you got two. You might as well.
Maybe I like this play more actually. Yeah.
You do?
Take your time. You need to cycle. That hand doesn't do anything. You can afford to take some damage for a while.
Okay. Well, there goes Aegis Darkbane. That's the sister that deals 3 damage to a random target when you target it with one of your spells. And Savjz does have one. He has the Power Word Shield left.
All right, so Keeper of the Grove gets picked up. That's an option for this turn. He could silence the Whelp. Don't mind
silence and innervate Wrath or Ping.
You know, I like the decision to hold off on that innervate, though. Amaz has this kind of hand that's just kind of all removal, reactive cards. You want to save that innervate just to give you more options later on. Play that Ice Howl on turn 7.
Does he get the strike? He does. That allows him to keep his 2/1 Whelp in play. Picks up a Death, a very important card in this matchup, as we've seen so far in the tournament. Priest has been one of the dominant classes, I feel, largely because of that card, largely because the removal is so efficient at 3 mana.
Yeah, I mean, in the case of Priest, your early game minions are strong because of the Dragon synergies with Wormrest Agent and Twilight Whelp. Your removal is good against the expensive minions. You have Vol'jin, Shadow Word Death. The whole package just works really well together.
What about this? Illidan Innervate into double Naturalize.
That's
power play. Or the ultimate tempo play into a Light Bomb that you'll probably give him from that.
There might not be room for Light Bomb in these decks.
I think we have seen it in some of the Priest decks, though Savjz, I'm not sure.
Yeah, he might have one.
There it is.
There you go. You call it, Crip.
And Lothab does actually lock that out. Limits a lot of Amaz's options. In fact, he's either playing Illidan or Stalog, and it seems silly to play Illidan in this situation.
Absolutely, it's going to force Amaz to play a little bit mana inefficient, but not too big of a deal. Still good stats on that creature. I think he's just going to Shadow Word Death here. Keep his guys alive. Oh, I like this. Yeah, Savjz wants to keep the pressure on. He has the board. Amaz is getting pretty low. Stay aggressive.
His guys will not stay alive. His guys are getting naturalized, I believe. And Illidan Stormrage is going to show us that sometimes this little old guy can pull a win.
Yeah. Well, Easy Savjz has a smile on his face. He was not prepared, except, well, I suppose Light Bomb will do it.
Well, Rend also does it, but what do you think is more valuable in this situation?
Amaz is pretty low on cards. I don't expect him to flood the board with too many things, so I would use Light Bomb and then use Rend on like one single
big guy.
Big guy, yeah. Something that can win the game on its own, like a Ragnaros, for example.
All right, well, Light Bomb does do it. Amaz not too happy with that. He has the Ice Howl, which is not something you play on an empty board. Oh, the Fugan, though, that is a big one.
That's a huge deal. We've already seen Stalag die, and all of a sudden, Savjz is facing a potential 11-11, but Shadow Word Death is just such a clean answer for that.
I really like the Chromagus here. I think Chromagus is so unlikely to die. It'll die, but it's very unlikely to.
Yeah, I like that play. I can see that.
I mean, it's not like Savjz has even seen Ice Howl in the tournament.
That's true.
The Chromax effect doesn't even work, though, because he'll discard the extra card.
Oh, he would. That's true.
You can just play it anyways.
Savjz doesn't want to play Ragnaros because he knows that if he kills that 4/7, it will be replaced with a Thaddeus, and he can't really have an 11-11 up against a Ragnaros when he gets the attack right away. So he's going to opt for this play. Still remains mana efficient, the hallmark of an experienced tournament player. And yeah, Amaz just going to make his Thaddeus, take the trade, and all of a sudden Ice Howl's in play. There's 2 threats Savjz needs to deal with. Man, that animation.
Ice Howl really.
Well, the thing with Ice Howl is you can wait a little bit if you need to.
Of course Ice Howl's golden, man. That's what kind of Ice Howl do you play?
Well, he cannot Rend and Death. But if you Death, what do you play?
Emperor Thorson for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's 7 cards, and at least 5 of them are very clunky.
Yeah. Definitely needs this mana reduction right now. So the thing going to Savjz's favor is that, well, Amaz is just very low on resources. He needs to peel a big minion right now, or else his turn is just going to be very inefficient.
Yeah, well, it's going to be that second one. It is going to be an inefficient turn.
That's actually a fantastic Mark of the Wild.
You think so?
Well, as strong as Priest is, it doesn't have a hero power like Mage to be able to deal with 1 health minions, so he has to commit something to dealing with this. I mean, luckily for Savjz, he has a Blackwing Corruptor, which is pretty efficient, but
I mean, that's like Blackwing the 4/3 and play the Geddon.
Right, yeah, but you can't really play around this as a Amaz in this position, right? Like, anytime you can get a minion to stick at 1 health, it's a win. It's like playing against...
Ooh, that's powerful.
It's like playing against Mechazod.
I think you still have to Baron Geddon here.
I agree. Yeah.
You commit to this.
Quite what was planned.
Both plays are good, though. I mean, you don't have to Baron Geddon. You could play Cultist and Twilight Guardian. There's a lot of options here.
I just feel like if he's that low on cards, if he's struggling that much to play stuff, you're just not going to get a Baron Geddon, are you?
Probably not, no. I mean, both plays are reasonable. Knowing the cards, I think the Baron Geddon is slightly better.
All right. I don't believe Amaz has much draw, except for the Nefarian, of course, which is probably what he's looking for. Sylvanas, a pretty good pickup, but in this spot, it is pretty weak. Though I believe you can mulch your own Sylvanas if you really want to.
That's definitely an option.
Actually, that may not have been too bad. Archmage. Archmage will probably not see play. While it is a big minion, it's not really something you'd want to give your opponent with mulch. In this case, there are plenty of better big minions to choose from.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of mulch. It's sometimes just give them a minion that's not worth playing the entire game, and then it becomes a pretty efficient removal spell. Cool thing about the Priest deck, too, is most of the minions don't have anything like Death Rattle, so hard removal, things like Assassinate, Mulch, those kinds of cards, actually much more effective against Priest than most classes.
Oh, Ragnaros here, but if this misses, this might be the end for Amaz. It's going to be very difficult to come back.
Oh, no.
I've seen
Amaz play Ragnaros before.
Ragnaros doesn't miss.
Dromagus is dead. Oh! Well, there's a bug, but luckily we have Blizzard staff here to address that.
All right, well, I just like playing Ragnaros here. You either kill your opponent or kill his Rag for free. That seems like a good deal to me.
It's not bad. Ren Blackhand is a much cooler entrance animation, though, and I feel like the game is unlosable at this point, so...
Throw down some Wormrest agents.
There you go.
Board.
Oh, let's see if Savjz's Ragnaros misses.
Are you mocking me?
I think even if it misses, it's pretty hard to lose this. Well, it missed. I guess Amaz needs like another mulch. Yeah, I think Amaz needed a mulch. He'd mulch his own Sylvanas, get Ragnaros, and Ragnaros would kill the 6/8. Which has probably happened a few times in Hearthstone.
Yeah, I believe that. All right, well, Savjz ties it up. Solid draw.
Well, I think Savjz was very confident in Major Domo at the start, and that confidence started dropping off very quickly as the games started rolling out.
I would love to see Amaz keep that mind games.
Okay, well, this is Savjz's Warrior. Warrior was a fairly anticipated class because of the very efficient removal. You know, players have to play 10 World of Warcraft raid bosses. Most of them die to plain removal. But it's just really hard to remove something and actually play something that's very threatening. A Warrior can absolutely do that with 1 mana removals. They can even play a 9 mana Nefarian in some cases.
Absolutely. I mean, it really is just one of the classes that seems like it's just capable of dealing with the late game very effectively. Like you mentioned, tempo is such a big deal in this matchup when both decks have so many late game minions.
Oh boy, double mind games. Let's roll the dice.
That's the dream, right?
It can be.
I don't think there's Doomsayers in Warrior.
Oh.
That's not bad. That'll do. Savjz looks happy.
Turn 3, 8/8.
It's not bad. We've seen a 12-12 and an 07, so, you know, we've seen better, but...
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think we're going to slam, and if it's bad, we're going to slam again.
Oh, no execute. All right, so Savjz is going to be hurting here, taking some quick damage, and that second Mind Games is not going to be any prettier. He needs to see something like an Acolyte of Pain off of this, or else he's in for a world of hurt.
Oh, looks like Amaz favors the Nat Pago. He probably thinks that Savjz is holding a weapon here, and he values the heal over a random Mind Games factor.
Yep, just playing around potential Death Spike. A very likely card for Savjz to have.
Well, Stunlock really is not going to work too well here. Amaz has a ton of counters in his hand, but can you really blame him from playing it? The only other option would be Lotheb and you weapon next turn, I guess.
I'm excited to see some pants on Nat Pagel, to be honest. Do you know the Nat Pagel attack sound when he attacks? It's howdy.
Yeah?
Fun fact.
Okay, well that was a fun fact indeed. So if he goes with Lotheb, he is going to try to perhaps do the Fiery War Axe play. a Light Bomb, and an Illidan. Not often the two cards you end up drawing through Nat Pagal. But this is the game that we're playing. He doesn't have too many plays. It's really the Piloted Shredder or the Vol'jin. And the Vol'jin doesn't really see much play. You're basically just playing a card for tempo, and Piloted Shredder probably gives you at least as much as that.
Now we're going to see Amaz get in for 8 instead of taking the trade onto Lotham. Makes some sense. Warrior could likely have a lot of things that deal 1 damage. But what a Sylvanas coming out from Savjz. Really, really good on a board like this.
Actually, Amaz is 2 damage from lethal here. He's got 12, and he can double Velen's Chosen here.
Yeah.
That's a lot of damage.
Well, if you put Savjz at 2, you can force him to armor or die to Barongeddon. And he likely can't deal with the board without armor. Yeah.
That is a pretty big gamble, though.
Yeah,
to buff your minions into a Sylvanas.
It's probably not worth the risk. So maybe we'll see a Vol'jin come out. I'm not really sure. Honestly, it's one of those turns where there's a lot of options for Amaz here. He might even see a Mind Games.
Yeah, I feel like Amaz is really contemplating what might be in Savjz's decks, but I mean, after seeing a Major Domo,
Yeah.
the dice has a lot of numbers on it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Not too quickly.
all of the plays are a little bit awkward against Sylvanas. There isn't a play that's exceptional against the card, so I might like to see just the most aggressive line of play here. Play 2 Velen's Chosen, go face. Maybe that's a little ambitious.
Holy cow.
No, he's going to go for it. He's going to choose to put all the buffs on Nefarian. Solid play. He knows that Savjz doesn't have Execute yet, or else Nefarian would already be dead. Oh, that is huge.
Yeah, that makes a very good playable card, and it encourages you to armor because you're
That
on
is
7
the
mana.
only card Savjz could have drawn to flip this board.
Well, he does have 2 of them, though.
Right, but because of that draw, he's going to be able to flip a board from 2 life from a game that looked unwinnable, be ahead on board, and not die to Barongeddon, which is nuts.
Here he's looking for Nefarian to actually stay alive so he can take it with a Sylvanas. Oh.
I think this is fine, actually. There are very few spells that deal a little bit of damage, and if it's something like Blackwing Corruptor that kills that, you still steal it.
What about Barongeddon?
Yeah,
You
just
get
give
him
him
to
the
2,
Barongeddon.
and then it actually hits his own face at the end of his turn. So he's forced to armor up.
No, that's true.
And is that the sister that can snipe with the 2 damage?
No,
Nope.
that is the sister that gains Divine Shield in a lot of cases.
You see that Shadow or Death on 1 health minion. Sometimes that's what Priest has to do to deal with Sylvanas.
All right, well, looks like we are in the coin flip mode. Ragnaros is going to fire 8 damage worth of stuff, and if it hits the 5/5, Savjz will continue in this game.
Savjz is incredibly far behind. He needs to hit the shot to stay in the tournament here in the Challenge Stone Finals, and he doesn't do it. And that's game. Amaz is going to take the win.
Yeah, but it is best of 5, and so far, actually, both the players who made it here made it on the back of comebacks. Both of them lost their opening games, so we'll have to see. Bosses, anything is possible. I was pretty happy to see Frodan be adventurous with the classes, but I'm glad that at least Savjz made it, who was mostly adventurous with the cards. Speaking of adventurous cards, that is probably the highest point. Mr. Major Domo.
Yeah, if you're looking at Amaz's hand before that naturalized draw, that was quite a good deck.
Yes.
But now it's going to be kind of the battle of a more standard list with naturalizes and mulches against Savjz's control hybrid freeze mage thingy.
Whoa. Well, now with Kel'Thuzad, you might save that ramp for Kel'Thuzad instead of Ancient of Lore.
Well, the thing about Kel'Thuzad is, sure, you could play it early on an empty board, but then it's not really getting too much value. Usually you want to play it the turn that you trade stuff in, so I wouldn't mind seeing an Ancient of Lore come before the Kel'Thuzad.
Their Nasus does come down. Is it too early for a Doomsayer? Oh, I guess it is. Savjz
You have the
decides
back-to-back
against it.
combo. You can just save it for later. The first one gets silenced, you just immediately throw down the second one.
Well, Druid is actually the only class running silence the whole tournament, I believe. So it is a little bit of an inconvenience, but with the way the matches went down, Savjz has to get through this Druid deck somehow with a mage.
Generally, mage decks that rely on Doomsayer and Ice Block, such as Giant's Mage or Freeze Mage, are traditionally awful versus Druid. But in this case, when you have like 2 Freezes and 2 Doomsayers back-to-back, it's actually pretty good. This is how you win.
Well, Amaz basically played Astral Communion.
Yeah, he did. I mean, that is a lot of ramp. But Savjz is going to help retake that board. That Lothep's going to stop any innervate or coin shenanigans.
And it's that board is going to stop Kel'Thuzad shenanigans because I don't believe Amaz is interested in losing all his mana crystals.
Yeah, well, if Amaz... Oh, that's a good point. I mean, even if you Kel'Thuzad your Nenasis aspirants, you still lose the crystals. You don't get them back.
Well, you can lose a crystal more than once.
Right,
because you
yeah.
get the Darkness
Every single turn, yeah. Well,
that's a funny interaction you don't frequently see.
Looks like Savjz has to wait one more turn before he can do 2 Doomsayer turns in a row into Major Domo, into Alex.
yeah, because he can expect the first one to get silenced by a Keeper of the Grove, pretty common card in Druid decks. And the second time he does the Doomsayer freeze combo is going to cost him 8 mana. So
We do see another
point.
form of removal, though, and Naturalize that might get thrown down.
Actually, you mentioned a very interesting thing. I had almost forgotten this fact, but when you are a Ragnaros character after Major Domo's Death Rattle triggers, you can set your HP higher than 8 by Alistraz and yourself to 15. That's what you were citing, right? Wow. I don't believe I've ever seen that.
It was like when the Major Domo first came out, people were like thinking, it was like a question that people like tweeted.
Well, it looks like Amaz has a lot of answers here. He does seem to be a bit favored, but Amaz does have to face the second Doomsayer. It just might be a little bit too late here.
absolutely. So let's see if the early Doomsayer is going to hurt at all. I think he's just going to do what you guys mentioned, run the Blizzard out. Second Blizzard next turn with the Doomsayer. Lothep's getting in for a good chunk of damage. And I mean, as non-aggressive as this mage deck is, it's still very relevant. Getting your opponent low enough makes cards like Ragnaros a real threat really quickly.
Amaz here can play Nefarian with Naturalize, and that again is a very, very efficient way to remove cards. He doesn't get quite the mage cards he's gotten in the past with those Fireball finishers, Pyroblast, none of that. It's going to be Mirror Image and a Flame Cannon.
Absolutely. All right, so Mirror Image. Honestly, not too bad of a card in this format. Sometimes you just have a lot of big minions. If that stops 2 attacks from an 8/8, that's very, very good value for a 1-mana card.
Well, Savjz is going to do a Doomsayer play here, but we know that it's going to be a bit challenging because of the Naturalize.
This is actually the second time we've seen this mage deck kind of get a board lead and then use freeze effects for tempo while just getting in a lot of free damage. So even though the deck is just so defensive, Lothep's dealing 15 damage this game. I mean, that is pretty substantial.
Wow, Defender Vargas makes use of the silenced Doomsayer.
Yeah, not bad.
He could even play Duplicate with it and just taunt up only the Doomsayer.
That would be a pretty cool play. I think we might see that. It's pretty mana efficient.
Without any freezes, I'm pretty sure Amaz is just going to be able to go right past it or just kill it.
All right, interesting. So he chooses not to taunt up the Lothep, even with the... Oh, he's just going to choose not to play Duplicate. Again, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, 5-1 just trades too favorably against Lothep to really warrant keeping up. Yeah. Well, Amaz has the KT still, and I mean, it's starting to get like a much better turn to play it.
Yeah, Amaz is definitely considering the Kel'Thuzad play this turn. I think he's going to go for it because he has 2 pretty solid ways to trade his minions off.
I can point out he has 15 potential mana to use.
That is quite a bit.
But yeah, I mean, very likely to see something like Wrath KT here. Really just a lot of options when you have that much mana, that many cards in hand.
Well, that suggests KT probably won't be played because if you play KT, you actually want to kill off as many minions as possible.
Maybe change his mind. All right.
No, this is consistent.
Yep. Solid play. Iterate the Mark to play around Savjz's hero power, killing off his minion. And yeah, board looks pretty strong for Amaz at this point. He recognizes that all of his minions survive Flame Strike unless they're hero powered, so at least 2 of them will live if Savjz has that card.
Well, Nefarian's a pretty good pickup here for Savjz, but is it good enough?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Nefarian doing crazy stuff in this game so far in this entire tournament. If Nefarian picks up something like Poison Seeds, for example, that could be pretty strong.
Now, often in this similar type of deck that people have tried to get working on constructed, the Emperor duplicate synergy is extremely strong, but I feel in this case you're just too far behind. You're playing too slow of a deck to really make use of it.
Yeah, it really has to come down on 6, so you can play it again on 7, 8, and then get your whole hand cheap before you die to force combo, for example.
Savagery.
Does 0 damage.
Yeah. Oh, if you get spell power, that can deal some.
Time runs out on me.
Well,
Not a great card, though.
Amaz could mulch his minion into a Savage Combatant,
Okay.
but the chance of that is basically 0. All right, Amaz gets the Stalag. Stalag is a very fun little guy when it comes to naturalizing your own Stalag with KT up, but I don't think you really need to get that fancy this game. Looks like it's just going to be a straight up KT play here.
Amaz taking it slow. I mean, he recognizes that there's so much AoE that can be in this mage deck. No. All right, he's gonna drop the KT.
Yeah, with Doomsayer's gone and Amaz even has a tempo naturalize. And naturalize is a really, really powerful card at this stage in the game.
So I don't think we've seen any Kaldara Drakes, any Garrison Commanders, none of the usual combos we see with Major Domo on Constructed. I say usual combos like the deck is common, but I mean, the few people who do play it usually incorporate those combos. Anyway, without that, if Savjz manages to survive as the Ragnaros hero, at this point, is he too far behind to really use that to catch up?
Yeah, I believe he is. I mean, Amaz is at 18 HP, and he can even bump that up another 1. I just don't see how Savjz ends up winning this.
Definitely tough.
I mean, this is the best play, but it's still very far from putting Savjz in a winning situation. I know there's some strange interaction between Major Domo and Ice Block. I believe if your hero goes immune and then you become a different hero, you no longer have immunity. Do you know anything about that hype? I know you're the resident mage expert.
I am the mage expert, but I have not played much Major Domo mage.
Okay. Well, maybe after watching this, you'd never play Major Domo mage.
Definitely. But I will be playing the Stalag and Tukin combo because it seems pretty strong.
It does actually seem pretty strong.
I think Savjz's best bet right now is to somehow sneak 15 on the board and then go with a Cross Nova and then go for the Alex kill. Which, without a second Ice Block, I don't think it's happening.
I think there's some chance there is a second Ice Block in his deck, but how can he play enough stuff with a 3-mana Ice Block at this point?
No, is this it? Did Amaz just win Blizzcon?
Challenge run, yes. Oh, Savagery Synergy, Divine Shield, 0 damage, doesn't break a Divine Shield, I think.
There we go.
It does not.
We found a use script. The dream.
All right, well, unfortunately for Savjz, it looks like Amaz is going to take the match here with a final little bit of damage required with the Keeper. Keeper silence on the Ragnaros guarantees the hit. Well played by Amaz, well-built decks. And we have our BlizzCon Challenge Stone champion.